Good morning, everyone. So a little stability. Economic numbers come out. Well, nothing special there. Amazon up a little bit. And well, like yesterday we spoke about what would change the bias as to markets beginning to stabilize. Well, we'll have to see what today ends, but yesterday morning things were pre-market, they were down quite a bit, and then they retraced up toward the prior bar's close. And it didn't get quite there, but I said, it's going to have to go deep into this bar, and it's the same thing today. You can see where the spiders are at. They've been flailing around here pre-market, but they're going to start the day about halfway into yesterday's red bar. So as we're getting closer to this support area, and of course it is an area, so it's usually they go down toward the bottom or break below the bottom in these bear market trends. It is down a whole lot in this short period of time, let alone from here. I think it's down about 10% or so, maybe 11%. We could take a look and let's just see from here where it's at. Let's see. Yeah, close to 10%, and from the top, and just from this leg down, 5.5%, and that's in a short period of time. So it's begins to accelerate. And so today, while it's starting here, just looking at the 60-minute chart, you can see the way it came down yesterday. This isn't a pivot, but in a smaller time frame, it will be. And you can see on the 15 right there. Maybe it gets up there, give or take, before selling starts again. But we'll see if it holds up here. It's Friday, so we're interested, of course, to see what the weekly bar looks like after that ominous reversal bar the week before. And most obviously would get down here on this pivot on the weekly time frame, which was down here below 410. What's eyeballing it? Oh, you can see 405-ish, give or take. It's the bottom of this area right here. The transports are at the bottom of that trading range. So will they hold here when we start seeing the airlines and start to stabilize? Well, they've been in what we call death trends, and we define those as prices going down in a very steady, systematic way, where the bars are about equal in size on the way down, relatively small, just marked by institutional selling. When you see that, you can see the bars are close to the same size, but now it's started to accelerate. And in different stocks, we see wide range bars on the weekly chart. And that historically is where momentum begins to slow. Doesn't mean it's going to turn around. It just means momentum slows and maybe could start a bottoming process. Ultimately, we would think it would get down here, but it doesn't have to. I've seen plenty of times where I thought prices would get all the way down to the bottom of a support area, and it didn't happen. So we continue to monitor. NASDAQ 100 heading toward that 200 MA. It broke through this pivot low, and I didn't think it would hold, but since it was at these for a couple of days and then it started to break, it'll be interesting to see. This gets down to the 200 MA. I guess this will be up a little bit. We'll look at the Qs. Apple is next week, so I guess that's the last of the big stocks that might save the day. The way Apple looks, it seems unlikely. Wrong symbol. You can see that went through its 200 MA yesterday after hanging there for a while. So that won't be seen as a positive for sure. And, you know, the way it went up, like, that ebb and flow, higher highs, higher lows. So, a cluster of pivots down here. We'll see what happens when it reports. Let's see when that is. On the 2nd, November 2nd. Can you believe we're into November in a few more days? Next Thursday. Okay. There's cues. We'll see if that can touch the 200 today. Again, looking with that gapping up about halfway into that bar, into the same area on the hourly chart. That little reversal there at the end of the day. Ideally, it would have been better for it to open lower, but it is what it is. Would have been gapping down here today, would have been a greater potential for a retracement back up. And now it starts basically, almost nowhere. I mean, it could move up a little bit. There's a little bit of a void there, but I don't know what's going to get enthusiastic buyers to step up after the last couple of days at this point, because it's not at a support point where the majority are going to want to step up. And so if it was gapping down to the 200 today, well, just a moving average, it's widely followed, and they could do that. Ultimately, I think getting down here to this 330 level, give or take, would be where many more would be willing to step up and start to average in. But we'll have to see. SPX was moving around a lot. Let me just double check the numbers here. The premiums are moving down a lot, moving up and down, I should say. So 4,095. So you see this, as this is stabilized, this has adjusted. Let me check the other. Uh, 2220. Just come down a little. These things are moving, so you got to check them at the open, but it's moving a lot today. So opening up in the middle here, it ain't getting up to the top. And I say that like it's a fact, but that's just the way I see it. Something like this to retrace that far up today, that's not going to happen. And you never know. Could it get down here today? I would like it to. I don't think it will. It's opening here. I have to see how things start trading it in the open there. But I would like it to get down there, because then it's into this major support area. And 3 days down, stabilization, another 3 days down. The likelihood of stabilization at that point, and maybe some kind of, look, we'd love to see like a gap down reversal day or a bottoming tail bar reversal day. Essentially, whatever it looks like, it's a spike to the downside and a reversal and a range expansion, and that is historically what precedes the beginning of some choppy back and forth and a counter trend move. So, all right. And interest rates up here a little bit. We've kind of been all over the place there, whipping back and forth, still maintaining the uptrend, but gotten really erratic around that 5%. And Yeah, up a little bit. No real insights there. Now the dollar was ready to take off, looked like ready to take off yesterday and backed off at those pivots. So um, I think there's a lot of uncertainty here. I guess, well, the way that was up and interest rates were flailing around, sellers were just in control yesterday. And I think buyers are not going to step up in a big way until prices get down to a level where they're going to be more comfortable. And that's going to be that largest support level. Or, the news today wasn't anything all that earth shaking. So you'd have to get into next week as far as news goes and the earnings report from Apple. I don't think that's going to save the day. And economics reports next week. We'll get ahead of ourselves here, but consumer confidence is coming out at 10 o'clock. I don't know, 5-year, consumer sentiment, 5-year inflation expectations. That might move things at 10 o'clock. So keep that in mind. But next week we have ISM. Oh, the JOLTS report. Remember the JOLTS report? What was it back here? I think it was on this day. This was one of the JOLTS reports was on this day, and it ripped higher. So that could be a market mover for sure. That's on Wednesday. And Thursday, you got your jobless claims and whatever. So with all the news aside, we need to see prices get a little deeper down into here because those that are selling are going to back off. Just reasonable to think that prices are falling so far, so fast and coming into an area of price support. But typically those that are caught on the wrong side, they sell right at the bottom of the support areas. Historically, that's the way it goes. Transports, I think we looked at there, the wide range bar, they're down there at that support. So they are reaching the destination where they should begin to stabilize. And what is crude oil doing today? Absolutely nothing. Alex, you remember Fed announcement next week? I don't think they're going to be doing anything, but everybody hangs on their words. What is he going to say? Yeah. Well, right now the forecast is unchanged. And well, Dow futures, on this support stabilizing here, and they came off at a low. There's really not much of anything to go on here pre-market to think we're not going to get more of the same, and it may just be a real choppy day. With the transports down at support, the size of the gap up, like I said, the middle of the range, and they're just hanging there. They're just hanging there for now. Still some time left to go to the open, but I don't see any great enthusiasm. Bitcoin's tired at this point. What an amazing run higher. And the Russell is already down to the bottom. I mean, within a little blip to the downside to get down to those prior lows from last year. So, smaller bar yesterday, momentum is slowing, and you can see where I got it marked off here. It's down about 17%. And what I think we need for good measure here, I don't see where it is. That's not going to happen. Let's look at the Dow. Maybe a little more downside. We need a death cross. So we need the 50 to go through the 200, and the media point out to everybody the death cross, and then the markets will start to bottom at that point. After me, the transports, right, Dan? Right. And even the transports, because they were so strong previously. The 50 still above the 200. And that's really the way it doesn't happen all the time, Dodger, but as prices have been declining like these have for such a long period of time, and then as they accelerate lower, sometimes the 50 crosses through the 200, within days of the low. And, people just follow these follow things historically. I don't know, somebody came up with that at some point, and I guess the market went into a tizzy and it kept going down. So it became popular, so we'll see. Yeah, there's so many things out there about the markets that are, hype. But anyway, so I'll look at it as the composite, then hand it over to Dan, that accelerated lower. And you see, this isn't down at any significant support yet. So the NASDAQ, the composite does have some room to fall. So all yours, Dan.
Good morning. To Greg, you pointed out that Spider's death cross. That is a perfect example of showing how misleading and lagging the moving averages and this mystical, mysterious crossover tells you nothing about what the candlesticks are doing underneath that make up those moving averages over time. It's just funny. All right, I just had this Dollar Tree on my list, so we had a nice retest here. This will be a great put spread, 30-minute high. Well, actually, over today's Friday, over Wednesday's high. I have an alarm up there. Thomas Whiskey Mike. Yeah, there's a nice 1, 2, 3. Absolutely. It's a beautiful 1, 2, 3 with a price void. I like it a lot. Let me set an alarm. 163, 90, 80, whatever. 163, 80. That's great. And CPB, yeah. I mean, it's technically not a 1, 2, 3 just because yesterday's bar was higher, but it's close enough for government work. I'll set an alarm 4110. Has a nice void, nice close, Ember's head and shoulders. Yeah, those are two good ones, Thomas. Good job. Let me go to earnings, not as much today. JP Morgan is not earnings, but it's in the news because Jamie Dimon's going to sell about 12% of his stake. If he had a technician on staff, he surely could have got a better exit over here at 156. But you can only construe that these people, my sarcasm or cynicism rather for Wall Street, they all just plug in a canned excuse. They all do the same damn thing every time. No, there's no hidden meaning. We're just doing it for, family planning situation. All right, whatever. IQ. All right, let me just type all those IQ, but let me get through earnings first real quick, because you have pretty good setups, so I'll just write them down here. I can see right there, there's a couple nice 1, 2, 3s. Actually, I like them already. Wow, there's a lot of shorts here that you got. Now, just keep in mind, if we're nearing a turn day, I'm not saying don't trade any of those compelling patterns, but you got to, I call it playing defense. So in the potential turns, you got to play defense on the ones that are moving in the preceding direction. Amazon here, let me get through these. There's not as many here today. So 126, big bullish gap, but nothing to do. Possible condor actually for 0 DTE. Some Sam I am. this thing could be doing a multi-year month bottoming pattern. Sam, I am. Let's set an alarm at 378. 78. I just had Whiskey Mike alarm go off, Thomas. So keep an eye on that. I'll put it in another window. Whiskey Mike. CMG, I don't see any prints, but it shows it up at 1880. So I have it in the bottom right here. If that is opening up at 1880, that is a beautiful pro gap. It would be a gap breakout from an inverse head and shoulders. Now I know it's a $1,800 stock, but this could move up to 1950. So that's a nice gapper. And Ford garbage, earnings strikes, all that kind of jazz. Calm gapping down, but no volume, and it looks lower daily, weekly, monthly, but I just don't like shorts that run from the top to the bottom without a couple of bar continuation pattern, which that is not. Deck up a lot. Wow, that's a big old gap. Mohawk down a little. No, say, oh no, up. Yeah, up a little bit here. All right, $80. Okay. 30-minute high, possible put spread. Intel up a lot, but no pattern. Skechers opening flat, looks lower. You could short, ideally 30-minute low will trigger yesterday's low. That looks good. Now I have CVX on a put spread watch only because it's down so much and it could be a short-term exhaustion gap. I'm going to put that in a window, another computer. Texas Roadhouse. It's opening flat, but hey, Greg, we got to do an MT live called, it might be too advanced, but of what the pattern would look like if something happens. So I would be all over this pattern if it took out yesterday's high. I have no idea if it's going to do it or not, but your only loss is the time it takes to set this alarm right here. The 9670, because then that'll be a red bar ignored inverse head and shoulder breakout. Be a fantastic setup. ENPH, we sold $75 puts on this. It's gapping against us, but it's $6 out of the money, so I'll be looking to take profits until shortly after the open once I check the spreads. FE, I don't see a gap. XOM up a little bit, but no great pattern. Cough up a lot. It's up too much, but put spread idea. Same with SNF. Same with DLR. These are all put spread ideas. ESS, I can't tell where you're. If this opens flat, I'd say you could wait 10 minutes or so and short yesterday's low. HIG is a trading range. That would have been a pattern for a condor into earnings. Oh, downtrend here. I don't have a bias. DXCM. A big gap. Put spread idea. That's a pro gap. See, it's in a downtrend, gapping over all of this. That's a pro gap. RMD 144 could be the start of a bottoming pattern with a retest on the weekly. If this takes out this week's high, then that's a big old, big old Climo bottoming pattern. That looks good. RMD. What do you mean? What do you mean Suave for Monday? What does Monday mean? Greg and I were watching this monthly as a possible core long. And we looked at it, we considered putting it in the window, I can't talk, in the letter last weekend, and it was too extended. Look, Greg, yesterday was our entry. We weren't watching. All right, Charlie, just nasty death trend, no interest. Let me get through these real quick. EMN, gap and downtrend. LHX, I like if it can get over the week's high. I have an alarm, RSG, top of the range, nothing. Text, nasty, all time frames, X-ray. It's up, but there's going to be no juice, Weyerhaeuser, nothing, Juniper. Wow, that's a big old gap. Bear signs at the prior low. That's a real company. Let's see if we can get a 0 DTE on this. I'll put this in a letter. SUI, SUI, alarm. SUI, bottoming pattern, nothing to do now. And the CNPH, I'm bidding a nickel, but wow, they're still massive here. We have an open game, but not nearly what I thought. Wow, they're still pricing a lot of risk in this ENPH. And I got a couple here. Texas Roadhouse. All right, SUI. All right, SUI, nothing yet. Texas Roadhouse, nothing yet, but early alarm. Let me reset it at 97. And it just hit again, 97. All right, Texas Roadhouse is moving here, but I'm not chasing it. All right, CMG, big gap here. Let me put Texas Roadhouse in the way there. CMG, that's a pro gap. Let's watch CMG on a pullback. All right, you know, let's close this ENPH. I don't. Let's just keep a tight leash on it. Let's move stop break even for now. Bid 25 to close. EX8S alarm. Aichi, this was yours. I like it a lot from yesterday. Q's out of the gate, the strongest. Let me set a new alarm here. EXAS 6140. Ah, it must be spread. It just dropped to 31. All right, so let's short yesterday's low, stop Wednesday's high.